Right. Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever it is, wherever you are. If this is the first time that you visited either my blog, Knickknacks Old Peculiar, or my YouTube channel, Mr. Cuddy2977, my name is Paul. I'm also called Knickknack. I'm also called Mr. Cuddy2977, and I do the daily teaser quiz, and occasionally I review films. The last one I saw was this year's version of Frankenstein. I also review and talk about TV shows I'm watching. At the moment, it's Tuesday lunchtime, and I've caught the first episode of The War Between the Land and the Sea Sunday night, and I wanted to tell you about it. Please feel free to subscribe to my channel if you want to hear more about the TV show and about daily teaser quizzes. That's a lot said, done and dusted. It's, like I say, Tuesday lunchtime, and it's time for me to tell you what I thought about Homo Aqua, the first episode of The War Between the Land and Sea. Episode 1, Homo Aqua, opens with a shot of the sea and then closes in to show us a Spanish fishing ship trawling through the waters of the Mediterranean Sea. The ship's nets capture quite a lot of fish, alongside something monstrous and something humanoid hidden in the ball of fish, something that is rapidly shot dead by the panicked human crew. Mere hours later, we're shown the bedroom of unit admin worker Barclay Pierre Dupont, Russell Tovey, as, late at night, he gets an unexpected phone call from his employers. And he's forced to drop his daughter, Kirby, Cat Gannon, with her mother before being driven to his destination, a unit airbase in London, where he's put on a plane to Spain. All the while complaining that there's been a terrible mix-up and the person who should be heading to Spain is the man he's accidentally replaced. All of this is of little interest to General Pierce, Colin McFarlane. Barclay is still going to be needed by Pierce's team because the General, the team, and unit itself have to have a civilian observer when working on this sort of investigation. What Barclay doesn't know is exactly what General Pierce's team have found. They found a body. They found a non-human body. They found a body of something Pierce calls Homo Aqua, and one of his team says should be called Homo erectus, but who the old legends call sea devils. Right, what did I think of episode 1 of The War Between the Land and Sea, of Homo Aqua? What's more, when am I going to watch episode 2? Just so you know, I started writing the script and the blog post for this review on Sunday the 7th of December 2025. Should get this up by Tuesday, by today, alongside the accompanying video. Episode 2, I will be watching the second episode on Thursday, or hopefully by Thursday, and we'll hopefully have the reviews up by Thursday. I did that simply because it makes my job slightly easier. I can prep everything at once and get it all posted or started at once. C'est la vie, that's the way it goes. At any rate, that tells you the practicalities, but it doesn't tell you what I thought of Homo Aqua. I have to say, I think it is very, very good. Russell Tovey, as the out-of-his-depth Barclay, is both likeable and sympathetic, and it's the everyman we would be in his shoes. Totally confused by the bureaucratic cock-up, and slightly aware of something big coming. General Pierce is the other standout initially for this episode. Formerly of the US Army, he showed up as a leading US general in Torchwood Children of Earth. Pierce seems to be far kinder than he was in his original appearance. By contrast, Gemma Redgrave as the unit Kate Lethbridge Stewart seems not nasty, but showing a ruthless side she would need to run unit when it's under pressure, as it is now. That is by contrast to the far more relaxed character we see in Doctor Who. She's both more formal and more of a tough leader. She has to be. She hasn't got the Doctor around to help out here, so she's slightly more tense and taking slightly more active interest. The supporting cast are just as strong, as is Russell T Davies's writing, as is Russell T Davies's pacing. Homo Aqua, for a 43-minute episode, moved along at a very good pace, one that kept my attention for the whole period. It is strong, it is fast paced, and it is good enough for me to want to go back as soon as I possibly can. There's something else we should maybe talk about here, the changes to the world building, to the background universe. The Doctor Who franchise that the War Between the Land and the Sea is part of has a complicated history, things getting changed, added, altered, written, rewritten over the course of many years. After all, the idea that the main character could change form at times of medical need was only added so that the seriously unwell William Hartnell could retire and be replaced by Pat Troughton with a certain amount of dignity. It wasn't necessarily something the show's creators had in mind back in 1963. The classic show has also destroyed Atlantis.
Twice.
So when the new version of the show surfaced in 2005, it took the chance to introduce new monsters. It had inherited a lot of backstory, but it also had the chance to redesign some of the creatures they felt they had to have in it to show you it really was Doctor Who. The Daleks got one hell of an overhaul, the guns rotating to point backwards. That was so cool. So the Daleks got a redesign, as did the Cybermen.
45.
Thank you, Keller. As did the Ice Warriors, as did the Sontarans, and as did the Silurians, or Homo Reptilia, as the new series calls them. So when the War Between the Land and the Sea was announced, we were told it would be featuring a new redesigned Sea Devil. And those redesigns got unveiled on Sunday in the scene that introduces us to a formal meeting between sea devils and humans. We see two Piscomorphia grandis, two large humanoid monkfish type creatures. We see Homo Aqua, the armed creatures that have made up the bulk of the sea devil sightings we see in this episode. And we see the sea devil leader, Gugu Mbatha-Raw, dubbed Homo Morphia sapiens and Homo amphibia by a unit staffer. But it reminds me of the Silurians in The Hungry Earth and Cold Blood, two-parter of earlier years. And given the Silurians are or were relatives of the Sea Devil, seeing the latter redesign and given three different contemporary versions was quite good to see. Quite how the three different subspecies are supposed to interact, I don't know, but it shows us a set of species whose relationship I would like to see more of. There's another callback to those two Chibnall-penned episodes, a scene that shows us two unit guards, Morgan and Abdullah, being captured by Sea Devil raiders who liquefy the floor in a way that reminds us of Cold Blood Silurians capturing humans. It's a sort of drilling through the floor or liquefying the floor effect. It tells us that the Silurians and the Sea Devils share technology, which surprised me, but it shouldn't have. However surprising it may have been, it's a logical thing to show us that these species are related and share technology. There are quite considerable amounts of other things I could be telling you here. I've mentioned the pace of the episode already. Homo Aqua is good, zippy, and fast-paced, something I found personally appealing. The locations, Imperial House that's mentioned in the episode, I believe that it's the location of the office used to conduct the meeting between humans and Sea Devils. We see a tunnel from the Thames being built into the location. And I believe that external location is the same one used for Thames House, I think it was called, used to house the 456, the alien villains in Torchwood Children of Earth. That idea of meeting non-humans in an environment that's safe for them is straight out of the Children of Earth playbook as well. Kate's speech when we first see her in this episode, the one that tells her fellow unit staffers that unit stands outside all countries, borders, governments, and oceans. Reminds me a lot of the opening narration from Torchwood, where Jack tells us the group stands outside the government and beyond the police. It's very reminiscent. No surprise, there's the same writer, and it fills a similar dramatic purpose. It tells us who UNIT and or Torchwood are. At least, that's what I think. There was something else, and this is going to sound odd, possibly, that struck me about the new look of the Sea Devils, or at least about Salt, the Gugu Mbatha-Raw character, the leader, if you will. I can remember many years ago, somebody wrote into the Radio Times, the BBC's listings magazine, or possibly wrote into Points of Views, one of the two, asking why the BBC bothered doing subtitles on their programmes when deaf viewers could just as easily lip read. They could save money not doing it. That got a response, or the magazine giving us a deaf person's response. A response that pointed out quite happily that lip readers couldn't read the lips of somebody who was speaking off screen, nor could they, as the Rhode Ayling Ellis character reminds us in The Well, nor could they read the lips of a character whose back was to the camera. If I turn around, you won't be able to read my lips. And nor could those deaf people read the lips of the puppets in Thunderbirds or Rainbow or The Muppet Show. The puppets look like they're going, meh, 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 meh. Na, 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 na. They look like that. Much like the original designs of Sea Devils in both the classic series and the Jodie Whittaker era Legend of the Sea Devils. They go, man, 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 man. Deaf people can't read lips like that. They can't read babbling lips that aren't making any sense, that aren't talking. So having a creature, a leader, whose face we can see, whose mouth we can see, is helpful for everyone. Those of us who can hear and can see as well, can hear and see a human-like expression. It tells us more. Those of us who can't hear can read the creature's lips. How better do you want? Yes, those subtitles are useful, but yes, you and me can read Salt's lips. Right, with all of that said, done, dusted, swept under the carpet and jumped on, what did I think of this first episode of The War Between the Land and the Sea, of Homo Aqua? I enjoyed it. I thoroughly did. It's a fast-paced little political thriller of an episode with a sympathetic ensemble cast, with menacing monsters, and a pair of central characters, Barclay and the Sea Devil leader, who have caught my attention. The only reason I haven't watched the second episode as yet is so I can tell you how good the first one is. Yes, Homo Aqua is definitely worth watching, and yes, it sets up the rest of the series very well indeed. Right then, ladies and gentlemen, that is where I'm going to leave things for now. I will leave you with my thanks for watching this video. I'll leave you with my thanks for reading the original blog version, if that's what you've done. And I will tell you that my next review of this series for the next episode, Plastic Apocalypse, is going to be up hopefully by this Thursday. However, before I go, I will ask you to subscribe to both my blog, Knickknacks Old Peculiar, and to my YouTube channel, Mr. Cuddy2977. That way, when I release the next review and the next daily teaser quiz, you get to hear about them first. Feel free to do that. Feel free to keep your eyes peeled. Feel free to see me the next time you see me, and feel free to tip if you're feeling Christmassy and generous. Whatever happens, have a good Christmas, have a good day, and be seeing you.